Hello everyone, welcome to the first video in the series of our team previews. It's finally time to do this. So we're previewing every team for the 2020 season. We're not going to go in alphabetical order this time like I did with the draft class recap videos. I would like to do smaller goals in order to reach a larger goal. So we're going to do each division one at a time, starting with the AFC East, and the first team up to the plate is the Buffalo Bills. So let's get started, and let's hope I don't make any more mistakes. This is like the 75th time I'm recording this, so I don't care what happens this time. We're doing it. All right, so to recap 2019, they went 10-6 overall, good enough to make the playoffs. The offense was ranked 24th in the league, 8th in rushing, passing 26th. Defense was ranked 3rd in the league. They were 10th against the run and 4th against the pass. Sean McDermott enters his 4th season as the Bills head coach, career record 25-23. Snapshot of the previous 4 years, 2018 they went 6-10. 2017 they went 9-7 and made the playoffs. 2016 7-9, and the year before that 8-8. So they've been middle of the road for a long time. Finally get into the 10-win column last year with Shawn McDermott. Second year making the playoffs in his tenure. That 2017 season was very special because that was the first time that they've made the playoffs in, I believe, nearly 2 decades. I want to say it was like 17 years. I don't remember the number exactly off the top of my head. So for them to get back into the playoffs and now be in a position where they can sort of take over the AFC East with Tom Brady out of the division is a discussion that we can finally have, especially with the way that this roster looks. And are we seeing New England in a rebuilding mode? Yes, they did just sign Cam Newton. That is the big news of the week. But at the same time, the rest of that roster has question marks. So is Bill Belichick the master wizard that we all know him to be? We're going to find out this year, and we're going to find out if it's the Bills' time to shine and can they take over the crown in this division. Now, the one thing that they've got going against them is this schedule. This schedule is absolutely brutal for this upcoming season, and that is the reward that you get for going 10-6 last season. So with the 10-6 season last year, congratulations, your punishment is now a way more difficult schedule. So to take a look at the schedule, we've got the Jets, a road game against the Dolphins, the Rams, on the road against the Raiders and Titans, Chiefs come to town, a road game against the Jets, and then finally your first matchup of the season with the Patriots at home in Week 8. Absolutely brutal way to start the schedule. You've got the defending Super Bowl champions, you've got the Titans, you've got the Raiders aren't going to be a pushover in Vegas. I think that they're going to be pretty hyped for the season. This is tough, and it doesn't get any easier as you go on. We've got the Seahawks in Week 9, a road game against the Cardinals in Week 10. Bye week is Week 11, so I think that's a good thing to have the bye week sort of like almost in the middle of the season, so that'll be a good resting point for them. Chargers at the 49ers, Steelers come to town, road games against the Broncos and Patriots, and finally rounding out the season with the bookend of the Dolphins at home, which will give them the advantage of having the Buffalo winter weather atmosphere should they need that final game to wrap up a playoff spot. I think it's much better than actually having to play in Miami where teams seem to struggle. I mean, you look at the Patriots, what happens to them when they play in Miami from time to time? They get shell-shocked. So I think not ending the season in Miami is a good thing for the Bills, despite the rest of the schedule being utterly brutal. So this division could be well improved this year. That's the other thing. They were 3-3 in the division last year, I believe, and I think they were 4-4 at home, 7-5 in the conference. This division could be very improved, and the Patriots still could be very good because Bill Belichick is still there. And I don't care what anybody says. As long as Belichick exists, Patriots are contenders, even if it was Jarrett Stidham going forward this year and not Cam Newton. The Jets could be improved. That's a possibility. I think the Dolphins are going to be better this year. So the Bills have a lot working against them. They really have to prove that last season wasn't a fluke. So taking a look at the roster, I think that they have the tools to be able to do that. They can definitely repeat that 10-win season last year, maybe even get one more. Maybe they'll get 11 and get back to the playoffs. So let's take a look at the roster. At least what I have here is the projected starting depth chart, if you will, or the projected starting 22. 11 on offense, 11 on defense. So I hope this makes sense. I sort of took some liberties with this. Maybe these won't be the starters that end up in Week 1, but this is kind of the way that I see it. So Josh Allen returns, quarterback, 3rd year. I went with Zach Moss as the starting running back. I know Devin Singletary is there, and I know he did pretty well last season. I think it's going to be a timeshare anyway, but I'm going to go with Zach Moss because I believe he has the greater potential to have more of an impact in the running game. Your offensive line from left to right is Dawkins, Spain, Morse, Feliciano, and Cody Ford. Tight end is Dawson Knox. They also have Tyler Kroft on the roster. For wide receivers, we have John Brown, Cole Beasley, and Stephon Diggs, who came over in the trade with Minnesota. Whoop whoop. And for defensive line, brought in Mario Addison. We have Ed Oliver, Star Laudelay, and Jerry Hughes. Klein, Edmonds, and Milano are your linebackers. Wallace, Hyde, Porter, and White, Tre'Davious White, are your secondary players. Also, important notes, you brought in Josh Norman for the secondary. E.J. Gaines was also a pickup this year. Mario Addison was also an addition this year, and I think that's probably one of the more underrated or, not so much talked about free agent additions throughout the whole league, because Addison isn't a player that gets talked about a lot as a household name or great pass rusher or elite pass rusher, but I think he could finally bring something to the table the Bills have been lacking for a while, and that is a really good pass rush. Yes, they did draft A.J. Epineza in the second round this year, a player who I did like coming out of Iowa this year. You can go back to my draft videos and check on that. But I don't want to pencil him in as a starter right now, because I think the size criticism against him, could be legitimate. So I'm going to wait and see. I'll revisit that in a few weeks, or at least a few weeks into the season. Ed Oliver is another player that I wanted to point out here with the offseason issues. I think that should be fine. And, he showed flashes of brilliance last year. I thought he was one of the better, probably, if, let's say, like Nick Bosa wasn't in the draft 2 years ago, he probably would have been the best player coming out that year. So this defense is legit. Leslie Frazier has done a good job as defensive coordinator, and I think it could definitely carry him to another, prosperous season. The questions are going to be, and I have them listed down here, the 3 keys to the Buffalo Bills season this year, and it might be a little hard to see because I'm in the way and I wrote them in red. I'm going to go buy a new black marker tomorrow because writing in red is not beneficial to anybody. I'm just burning your retinas at this point. The number one bullet point for the 3 keys to the Buffalo Bills having a good season this year is Josh Allen and his accuracy. 58.8% is not going to cut it. I've been defending him since he came into the draft. I've been downplaying the accuracy issues, and it's finally time to have that, difficult discussion that he needs to do better. Did he improve last year? Yes, absolutely he did. Short and intermediate passing game improved. Is Stephon Diggs on the roster this year, and will that help? Yes to both. Yes to both questions. It's a critical year. It's his 3rd year in the league, and he needs to develop and improve in the passing game and be more of an accurate thrower, especially down the field, because he has the cannon arm and because they now have weapons that can stretch the field with John Brown. They drafted Gabriel Davis, and there was one other receiver, I want to say it was Isaiah Hodges, that they drafted. I think he was the 6'4" tall target that they could use in the red zone, if memory serves me correctly. But he needs to improve on his accuracy, especially downfield. That is critical. Second bullet point, Ford's development. Cody Ford, somebody I mentioned previously, up and down season last year, and he was one of my favorite players coming out of the draft. Last year? He was drafted in 2019. Don't tell him, but I think Creed Humphrey is probably better than he is when we get to see him get drafted next year. But Cody Ford needs to, in the similar aspect of Josh Allen needing to develop further in his 3rd year, I think Cody Ford needs to make bigger strides in his 2nd year after the up and down season that he had last year, and really cement himself as the starter at the right tackle position. And my last bullet point, something I touched on with the addition of Mario Addison, is the Bills need to develop a pass rush, and it needs to be a little bit more dependable. They're going to get Phillips back this year from the ACL injury, and that's going to help in the rushing game. But, can they establish the edge presence with a pass rush? And I think Addison can be the one that does that. I think you're going to see Epineza play in a rotational role and maybe not be a starter right away, but I think a lot of the defensive line sustainability is going to depend on how Addison does, and I think it could be better than a lot of people are expecting. So that is the conclusion of this video. We have made it to the end of the Buffalo Bills 2020 preview. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Buffalo Bills this year, and if there's any other point that you want to touch on, feel free. I'll try to answer all of them. Have a good one. See you in the next one.